The ridiculous notion is for either one of you all to have the audacity to believe that you understand what the experience has to be.
I have to object to that.
But you just said
I cannot talk about it because I am not part of a group. I am a sentient human being. You're right. There's two ways you cannot understand something. One is to be too far from it. We're too far from it. We can't see like you can. One is to be too close to something. And then sometimes you can't see it accurately either.
Bill Maher has officially burned his bridges with the left, hurtling toward political exile. Though he hasn't openly admitted it, his fiery takedowns and relentless confrontations with Democratic guests have revealed the harsh truth. In one explosive episode, Maher completely crushed a guest who tried to weaponize race, delivering a savage verbal beatdown that left viewers shocked. The devastation was total. Smash that like button and subscribe now for more hard-hitting content exposing political hypocrisy.
Said at the Super Bowl, there for the first time in I think 4 years now, the Trump administration is making them take away "end racism," which they had written in the end zone, right? And when
why? It just seems silly. I mean,
to do it or not to do it?
Why get rid of it?
Oh, I could tell you why.
I know, but it's just like
Because it was stupid to begin with.
Yeah, but
let me ask you, who is it for? And if you're a racist and you see "end racism" in the end zone, you're going to stop being a racist?
Leftist media correspondent Tara Palm-Mary was at it again, spouting the woke left's usual brand of empty virtue signaling and tossing out buzzwords as if they were real solutions. But Bill Maher wasn't having it. With a single, sharp question, he stopped her cold, exposing the hollowness of her argument. She had no witty comeback, no clever deflection, just the stark realization that her slogans carried no weight when measured against reality. And that's the core problem. Too often, the left confuses catchy phrases and moral posturing with genuine progress. They preach justice, equity, and inclusion, yet remain silent on real, pressing issues like crime, border security, inflation, and national defense. Maher's pushback was a clear reminder that words without substance are nothing but noise. One has to wonder if these activists ever pause to consider that their slogans do little to change the lives of ordinary Americans.
The sentiment is basically like, don't be a...
But I think it's an to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write "don't be an on the end zone," everybody will agree with that.
For those not paying attention, the "end racism" slogans didn't disappear because the president waved a magic wand. They vanished because corporate America finally woke up from its woke-induced haze. For nearly a decade, CEOs and PR teams bowed to social media outrage, plastering meaningless slogans and rainbow logos everywhere, not to solve problems, but to survive in a culture dominated by performative activism. But now, the tide has shifted. The woke craze has lost its grip, and companies are quietly retreating, dropping empty virtue signals and returning to their original messaging. In other words, the mob no longer scares them, and performative pandering is officially out of style.
Previous administration, we would have inquiries. We would request information. We would want cabinet secretaries and assistant secretaries and deputy secretaries to come before committee. We would send letter after letter after letter and get no response. The Biden administration operated literally in the shadows. They would not tell you anything that was going on. At least Donald Trump puts it out in the litany of orders that come out that day. Here's what we're doing today. We're going into the Department of Justice. We are taking these attorneys and they are under supervisory review, or however they choose to phrase it. You knew nothing that was going on in Joe Biden.
Meanwhile, these same people have the audacity to call themselves champions of democracy. But what kind of democracy hides the truth from its own citizens? For them, transparency is a myth-of story shrouded in secrecy. Every press conference meticulously staged, every narrative carefully manipulated. And when they do decide to come clean, it's never the full truth, just another layer of spin and deception. With the Democrats, the closer you look, the less you actually see. Because behind the curtain, it's all smoke mirrors and political theater. Contrast that with Trump, who, whether you agree with him or not, built his brand on delivering promises. Democrats, by contrast, are masters of broken pledges. Just look at Biden, who vowed to uphold the rule of law and let his son face justice. Yet, when the moment came, he pulled the strings to protect him. Classic hypocrisy.
The privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't...
Bill Maher didn't hold back. relentlessly challenging Mary for doing what so many on the left do. Ignoring reality and reducing every issue to the tired frameworks of race and gender. It's the same worn-out script the Democratic National Committee has followed for years. Divide people into categories, play identity politics, and hope no one notices the absence of real solutions. But America isn't buying it anymore. Voters have seen through the game, and the DNC's favorite playbook now feels like a bad rerun rather than a winning strategy. The real tragedy is that they refuse to change course. Instead of adapting, they double down, clinging to divisive narratives that once gave them power but now only reveal their emptiness. Maher's pushback made it clear. Prioritizing identity over substance is a losing battle, and time is running out.
And sexism? Hillary got 3 million more votes than Trump, which in a normal country would be called a victory. It wasn't 21st century sexism that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College. Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do.
The Democrats love claiming that America rejected Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton solely because of their gender-convenient excuse and a ready-made shield for their failures. But, as Bill Maher points out, that's simply not true. Voters didn't turn them down for being women. They rejected a party that ignores the issues that actually affect everyday Americans. Instead of tackling rising costs, border chaos, urban crime, or the erosion of trust in government, Democrats obsess over pronouns, police language, and turn every debate into a lecture on race or gender. Maher's critique hits hard because it's accurate. People aren't turned off by female candidates, they're turned off by a party more focused on identity politics than real solutions. And that's exactly why they keep losing ground.
They actually see women and people of color, and it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare. Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but f*** your feelings, look at this chart. Yes, there's a lot to not like already about the new regime, but maybe take 1 week to ask what you did wrong. The basis for Democratic campaigns has become, we're the smart people. That we know.
Right there has always been the Democrats' central problem. They walk around convinced they're the smartest people in the room, and anyone who challenges their worldview or refuses to accept their ideology is immediately labeled ignorant, backward, or uneducated. This arrogance seeps into every speech, debate, and media. On top of that, they engage in relentless moral grandstanding, lecturing the nation as if they alone hold the monopoly on virtue. The result isn't just irritating, it's divisive. Rather than persuading, they shame. Instead of building coalitions, they alienate anyone outside their bubble. In doing so, they've pushed away more than half of America, creating a party that claims inclusivity but practices the politics of exclusion.
All you have to do is ask my father, who literally was shot in the Orangeburg Massacre, right? Who helped found SNCC, who marched with Marion Barry and Stokely Carmichael and Martin Luther King, and the list goes on and on and on. And he will tell you today that he feels like this country's in 1954. And so if you want to talk about somebody...
But that doesn't mean it is.
Well,
you said he feels that way. That's ridiculous.
My father, who was literally shot in the Orangeburg Massacre, helped found SNCC and marched alongside leaders like Marion Barry, Stokely Carmichael, and Martin Luther King Jr. will tell you today that he feels like this country is still stuck in 1954. But just because he feels that way doesn't make it true. The moment you refuse to fall in line with their philosophies or policies, Democrats rush to accuse you of wanting to drag America back to the Dark Ages, painting anyone who disagrees as a backward caveman. The reality, however, is that America has made enormous progress since the 1960s. Women not only vote but also hold powerful positions in Congress, lead Fortune 500 companies, and even run for president. We've already had our first female vice president, who is also a woman of color, a milestone that proves the old narratives no longer hold. America isn't stuck in the past. It continues to advance, creating opportunities once thought impossible. Yet instead of celebrating this progress, the left clings to outdated victimhood politics, pretending nothing has changed and ignoring the nation's real achievements.
The ridiculous notion is for either one of you all to have the audacity to believe that you understand what the experience has to be.
I have to object to that.
But you just said
I cannot talk about it because I am not part of a group. I am a sentient human being. You're right. There's 2 ways you cannot understand something. One is to be too far from it. We're too far from it. We can't see like you can. One is to be too close to something. And then sometimes you can't see it accurately either.
Bill Maher didn't hesitate to jump in when Barry Sellers began veering into race-baiting territory. claiming that people of a different color could never truly understand what Black Americans experience. Maher pushed back, arguing that perspective works both ways. Sometimes, being too close to an issue can blind you just as much as being on the outside. He suggested that Sellers, while passionate, might be so immersed in the narrative of racial struggle that he can't step back and see the bigger picture. It was a bold but necessary reminder that understanding isn't determined solely by skin color, and that constantly framing every discussion through race can obscure solutions rather than clarify them. Maher's challenge highlighted a deeper truth. Proximity doesn't always equal clarity, and sometimes it takes distance to truly recognize the root of a problem.
Something I am that.
I know.
So, but what I am saying though is for you to discount my father's experience and say
I'm not discounting it.
And to say it was silly.
I'm not.
No, he was shot.
No
Were
shit.
you shot?
No, but he's still alive. Like he's right here. Like
Right, but the idea that if I were to say to you, as a Jew, that the experience of Jews in the United States today is worse than the experience of Jews in Europe in 1939, I would not be stating accurately.
Correct.
It's not true.
That's
and it's also not true to say that the experience of black people in America in 2024 is worse on a general level than the experience of black men in 1954 in Alabama. That's just crazy.
Many so-called race experts have built entire careers and bank accounts on the notion that America is irredeemably racist. So they have every incentive to keep that narrative alive. They twist facts, exaggerate stories, and stir outrage to protect their positions, knowing that acknowledging real progress would threaten their influence and paychecks. The uncomfortable truth they refuse to admit is that Black lives in America today are far better than they were decades ago. Opportunities that were once unimaginable are now a reality. From politics and business to entertainment and education, we've seen Black mayors, governors, senators, billionaires, CEOs, and even a two-term Black president. Challenges still exist, of course, but pretending nothing has changed is dishonest deep down. Even they know it. Progress is real, yet admitting it would undercut their power. Instead, the left clings to hollow slogans, race baiting, and moral grandstanding, while ignoring both real progress and real problems. Bill Maher's pushback exposed this weakness. Empty narratives can never replace substance. America has come far, but Democrats refuse to acknowledge it because their power depends on pretending otherwise. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe for more.